Welcome to Unleashed. I'm your host, Will Bachman, and I'm excited to be here today with Dan Bauer. Dan is a member of Veritux, which is an Umbrex community. He's a graduate of Harvard Business School, and he's an independent consultant. What we're talking about today, though, is a very cool program that he's developed for high school kids. I'm so excited to hear about it. Dan, welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot, Will. I'm really excited about being here today and look forward to our conversation.
So, Dan, tell me the name of this program and what it's about.
So the name of the program is NSLC, which stands for National Student Leadership Conference. They're the camp partner for the program. So NSLC, Business and Entrepreneurship, sponsored by Inc. magazine.
Okay, and tell us what this thing is and tell us
Sure.
the story.
So this is a program, a 9-day immersion in entrepreneurship for high school kids age typically 14 to 18 from around the world. The students are all vetted based on their GPAs and or teacher recommendations. We had nearly 900 kids last summer, biggest effort, and we're looking for going over 1,000 this summer. The program takes place on, it'll be 6 prestigious college campuses, of which I'm very excited. They include Yale, Columbia, Duke, Michigan, Cal Berkeley, and for the first year this summer, UCLA. We attracted kids, from at least, I'm going to say, a dozen countries, everywhere from Monaco to India, and the chance to see their eyes open wide and learn and network with each other was amazing. The other component of it, the second component, is the teaching component. About half of the day is spent in a classroom where the students are learning the basics of business and entrepreneurship as taught by certified entrepreneurship teachers from our other partner, which is the Network for Teaching Entrepreneurship, NFTE. They provide the customized curriculum and vet the teachers for the program. And then the third big component is the entrepreneurs. And this is where I'm very hands-on as an entrepreneur. I was fortunate enough to make the Inc. 5000 when I was running my own business, which was called the MBA Exchange back in from around 96 to about 2016. And so when I launched this program, I felt that what would be very beneficial would be having a media partner involved, and especially a value-added media partner who could help source speakers and pitch competition judges. And so that's when I reached out to Inc. magazine, which I believe to be the Bible of entrepreneurship. And they've been a great partner ever since day one. They were excited about teaming up with me and with our other partners. And so in addition to being the name sponsor, Inc. and I collaborate each year on selecting, founders and CEOs from Inc. 5000 companies, typically in the commuting distance to the school, to the college that we're appearing at. So we make it easy for them. And candidly, they love it. And each year gets easier to recruit because they've had such a positive experience of engaging with the students and the teachers and each other. And it's a perfect storm, and we want to keep it going.
Wow. Tell us a little bit about the origin story of this program.
Sure. So the origin really came out of my business that I, started in the late 90s and sold in 2016. This was called the MBA Exchange. It was a career and education consulting business. We targeted young professionals typically and college upperclassmen who were exploring their options in terms of graduate education and other careers, management consulting, for example. And so I started and grew this business, making the Inc. 5000, grew it to we had about 80 consultants around the world. And we served over 5,000 young people over those 20 years. It was incredibly gratifying, and it really spoke to my passions, which are marketing, strategy, higher ed, and mentoring and coaching. And so when I sold the business in 2016, I retired for a weekend and realized that that passion was still strong within me. And I wanted to find another outlet for it and another platform for it. So I explored the landscape for business education and entrepreneurship education and found that the space for teen entrepreneurship was kind of more abundant. It had not really changed much over the years. I just felt that there was room there for really a better resource, a better solution, one that would have the pedigree of top colleges, would have the academic, discipline and rigor, but also would be more of a platform for engagement with and inspiration from real world entrepreneurs from across industries, not just Silicon Valley, but a cross section of products and services, B2B, B2C, direct to consumer, all that good stuff. And so I decided, part of my philosophy as an entrepreneur is if you can aggregate and create a best in class offering rather than start from scratch and try to beat entrenched best in class providers, then let's aggregate. And so that's what I did. Very selectively look for best in class curriculum, camp, teachers, and sponsor. And, it all came together rather quickly once I started to get commitments from them. They all wanted to work together, and that has been the beautiful story since then. It's been an amazing synergy of, respectful and cooperative partners. And it's a pleasure to work with them, and they seem to enjoy it as well. So that's kind of the genesis. I went from my entrepreneurial venture into launching yet one more. I tell my wife this is the fourth act of a 3-act play that is my career. The first act being corporate, the second act being entrepreneurship, and this is the third now. And I'm not sure how to categorize or to define it, but I'm having the time of my life with it.
So I captured at least 3 partners that you've pulled together. So you have the NSLC, the National Student Leadership,
Conference,
and they provide the actual campus housing.
Yes, they provide the administration, the supervision, sort of the academic adjacent components, the social aspect, the leadership training, field trips, of course, supervising and organizing dorm life, which is a wonderful aspect of this for these high school students to get a sense of what it's like to live on a college campus before they actually head off to school. And so that's a very nice add-on, eating in the cafeteria, living in the dorm, collaborating with roommates and groups. They also have a terrific simulation, a business simulation, which is a component of this that NSLC provides, in which the students get to make real-time decisions that impact the share price of a public, fictitious public company. And they chart their relative progress and success each day. And that's a very exciting, competition. That is augmented by the pitch competition, which I'm more involved in, which is where the students form small teams, come up with a business idea, again, a product or a service, and then work together to, using the lessons they've learned about business and entrepreneurship, they formulate a pitch. And they work on this in the evenings and, in the wee hours. And by the 8th of the 9 days, they're pretty much done. I arranged to provide office hours to them to help give them a little more tweaks here and there on their ideas as they're getting closer to pitch day. And then comes the big day, and they put on the suit and tie that they were told to bring with them, and they come to the amphitheater or the auditorium, and they sit down in front of a panel of typically four to six CEOs. These are folks I've recruited. Inc. 5000, again, Inc. 5000, Harvard Business School, EO, some are YPO, but primarily Inc. 5000. Individuals that really have founded and led successful companies. And after the pitch is done, the panel asks them some pretty tough questions for a few minutes, and it's quite an electric environment. The students always really do well, and the judges are not pulling any punches. It's a good exchange. And then after all the pitches, we usually have about 8 teams present. Then the judges will get together and actually pick the winner of the competition, and then engage with the kids and give them feedback on their ideas, and just some pretty informal networking. It's a wonderful, sort of capstone to the intensity of this 9-day schedule.
Yeah. Okay. So you have, I think, so it's really kind of almost 4 sets of partners that I'm hearing about. One is the individual colleges themselves that are supplying dorm space and classroom space. And then the second category is this National Student Leadership Conference that supplies the actual
administration,
marketing, the adult supervision, I guess.
Yes.
And then as well as some of the teachers, it sounds like.
The teachers come from the National Federation of Teaching Entrepreneurship. So these are teachers who during the school year are teaching entrepreneurship.
Uh-huh.
And they've been trained and vetted by NFTE, we call them.
So and then you have the Inc. magazine, and Inc. magazine, I guess, promotes this and is one of the main ways that you advertise the program and get people aware of it.
Exactly. And they chime in on the curriculum and the structure as well. Okay. And so, they participated on the judging panel and even the presentations. For the group that goes to Columbia, the last couple of years, we've even had a special private tour of the Inc. executive offices on Wall Street, which has been pretty special for them.
That's cool. And then, so you've put these sort of 4 partners together. Tell us about the central coordinating company that runs all of this. Is it you by yourself? Have you had to build like an internal team to manage these 4 different partners and get them all orchestrated?
So I have a management contact at each of the partner organizations. I liaise with them. I bring them together, but I also work with them independently. And so, thanks to the magic of Google Sheets, we are pretty much in sync all the time. We know where we're going. We have typically a Zoom or Google Meet every 2 to 4 weeks. We're already starting that for next summer, and that's the way we collaborate. I think my most intensive, administrative activity that I do solo, because A, I want to, and B, it seems to work best, is the recruitment and outreach to the CEOs and as speakers and judges. As a peer, I have found that the dialogue that I can have with them, sharing of our common experience, my respect for what they've done, my understanding of what they've achieved, and respect for their time limitations seems to resonate very well. My batting average for getting commitments and repeat performances is high, and so I'm not going to mess with that approach. It seems to work well. It's not very labor intensive. They tend to be very approachable, eager and enthusiastic and authentic individuals, professionals who want to pay it forward and share their experience and their knowledge. This is not a chore. This isn't a guilt trip. This is a joy. And that's why they enjoy it as much as I do.
So it's kind of an interesting, now, and is this a for-profit enterprise?
We need each partner needs to cover their costs. So yes. Yeah.
So it's quite an interesting business. There's very kind of little at the core of it, right? It's this group of partners that have come together. It's a bit unusual, sort of even a joint venture often between companies will have some formal structure. Like who's responsible, say, for, customer service and for, if parents have questions about it and answering those
Sure.
questions? Is that all the NSLC or
Right.
who's
So
the,
we are contractually bound partners for
yeah,
this venture, so that all that's square and everyone knows what they're doing and getting and what the other folks are doing. So we've got a solid foundation that we arranged on the front end. As far as the hands-on direct interaction with students and parents, that's the NSLC. That's
okay,
their sweet spot. That's their core strength. And that's, they've been at this for decades. They've got full-time staff, and that's their baby. As far as interaction with the entrepreneurs and speakers and judges, that's me.
uh-huh,
And as far as the teacher selection, training, how shall I put it, placement,
yeah,
and so on, that's NFTE. That's their bailiwick. And then Inc. is again doing promotional support and weighing in on content topics and the selection of speakers and judges as well. So it's sort of a Venn diagram. There's overlaps, between and among the partners, and frankly, no one minds that, and we all sort of benefit from that. We get a chance to comment on, weigh in on, for example, the marketing messaging. Everybody looks at that. Everybody gets comfortable with it before it gets published. That's a good example of what we do in our group meetings, periodic group meetings. I'm not going to say it's on autopilot, but
yeah.
we're each year we're getting better and better at this.
Who's the sort of central decider to say, hey, let's add an extra 1 or 2 college campuses this year?
So we would primarily look to NSLC for, let's say, quality control and the footprint. The relationships with the schools is their expertise and their domain, and so that's not easy. And they're really good at it. These are long-term, intensive relationships that involve multiple administrators on both ends.
Yeah.
And so, we easily defer to them on that. We've scaled it already, and we'll scale it more. There's not a problem with doing that. We like quality campuses. We like quality students. We absolutely want and need quality instructors and top-notch speakers. So as long as the quality's there, I'm a happy camper, and my vision for this thing is being fulfilled.
What's the typical profile of the students who attend? Is this kids who already have, started a business or two and are or is it people who, have no clue how to start a business and don't have any, parents or anyone who's entrepreneurs and, this is their first exposure to it?
Yeah, it's really all of the above, Will. There are some students that arrive on day one. They've got an MVP for an offering. It's really impressive. Some of them are getting revenue. I'm not sure about profit, but they're getting revenue from their idea already. Others are the offspring of corporate people and entrepreneurs, where the parent is kind of the impetus of this. They understand a really key point, which is that learning about business and entrepreneurship per se is a valuable lesson, regardless of what the student studies in college or goes on to do professionally. These are, their life skills, their core business skills, and whatever the passion or the interest or the strength of the student can someday be turned into a business. And if they've got the underpinning of entrepreneurship and the confidence in their business savvy, then this education and whatever they gain in college is going to serve them very well. So, again, you asked for the typical profile. There really is no typical profile. We're getting, the introvert, quiet kid that's never spoken up and never worked on a team. We're getting the alpha students that are instantly demonstrating the leadership and the charisma to get others attracted to them and their ideas. and we build the teams accordingly. We look for a balance of, those kind of EQ and IQ strengths. And having seen these teams work together, having coached them and mentored them through this office hours aspect that I mentioned, it really is special. And they form friendships and ties that endure during college and I'm sure beyond. So it's the diversity of this group, geographically, racially, gender-wise, interest-wise, that is a real plus for the experience. By the time that 9th day rolls around and the last social event comes, you see some teary eyes of kids that are, leaving new friends that they've made and had a terrific, intensive experience that they wish was not ending.
Tell us a bit more about the curriculum, sort of almost day by day or subject by subject. Are they getting a compressed sort of business school curriculum with some accounting, some finance, some marketing?
Yeah, very, very much. Yes. They're really getting the tools and the basics of marketing, operations, finance, you name it. But that's amplified by this simulation that they're doing, where they're making marketing, financial, and operational decisions. So it's not sitting there and listening to a teacher lecture them about, a balance sheet or a business plan, but they're putting it to work that very same day. So that's that component. As I said earlier, there's also a leadership component where at a very high level, they're being, inspired and encouraged to think out of the box, to dream big, articulate what their dreams are and go for them. It's quite inspiring. It's very much an interactive program. It's not sit there and take notes. It's absorb and share back what you've learned or how you interpret it. The basics, things like break-even ratios, valuations, partnerships, strategic alliances, all these things factor into their education. What was really interesting last summer was that as I was doing this office hours with the teams on each campus, I would hear the end of their pitch and I would ask them, there's one thing that I think might be missing. And they'd say, what? We thought we covered everything. I said, AI. I said, this is hotter than it's ever been. I would encourage you to explore what AI could do in your business model. And their eyes would open wide. They'd come back the next day, and almost in every case, they had something AI related plugged in. So, they're trying to be very contemporary and they're very open to recommendations, but the sheer energy and passion and sincerity of these business ideas they come up with are something to behold. And we never trample on that. It's always yes and, or how can I make that better? And that shows through in their presentations.
Tell us about 2 or 3 of the pitches from this summer.
Wow. Okay.
Business ideas.
Sure. So one was a dating app that had an AI component, pretty exotic. Another was a wardrobe curating app that would actually essentially administer the closet, assess the appropriateness of the garments in it, recommend additional purchases based on the climate, based on the work environment where the customer was going, based on the age and geographic location, and it would make specific wardrobe recommendations. Then you get a little bit more.
That one sounds like something that will probably actually exist in a year, if not.
Very possibly. Very possibly.
That sounds like a very real one.
Another one was the curation of medical notes to avoid the labor-intensive, imprecise process whereby practicing physicians are capturing, sometimes on a tablet in front of them, sometimes by hand, notes on a medical case they're handling, so that others on the medical team can, keep track. This was a, sort of a Otter on steroids kind of application, where tapping into medical databases, the quality and precision of the notes being taken was enhanced in real time, so that the end product was actually better than would have been if it was just a direct, transcription of the doctor. So, again, ranging from dating apps to healthcare and everything in between, carbon footprints and, high tech, low tech, no tech. It ran the gamut and was just a fascinating, kaleidoscope of very hot, very cool and hot ideas.
What would you say in the landscape of business education for teens, where would you say this fits with Junior Achievement, the program that kids go throughout, during the school year?
Sure. So, wonderful program that's been around forever. JA is highly respected. It has advisors. It, again, not to knock it, but it seems to have more of an academic bias or focus. It happens, typically at the school with a teacher advisor, which is great. There are other organizations like DECA, Distributive Education Clubs of America, which has more of a sales orientation. And so, there are traditional classic programs at the high school and the college level, for that matter, where young people, from the cliche of the lemonade stand to taking field trips and so on, happen. And those are fantastic, typically during the school year. What this does is for those students who've already had quite a good taste of this, it allows them to put that knowledge to work in maybe a more dynamic, more intensive environment in the summer, where this is really all they're doing, again, from 9 till midnight, 9 days in a row, they're eating, sleeping, and breathing this stuff. So they're able to take, what they've learned in school and apply it in this environment. Now, for those many, many students that either don't have access to or don't choose to participate in something like JA, this is a turnkey standalone chance to get educated and immersed and excited about business and entrepreneurship. So it serves them as well. There's, the fact that we mix students from both of those camps into the same classroom of usually 50 or so students, and then on teams of typically 4 to 6, they're getting exposure to their peers that have had a lot, had a little, or had no business background. And so, they get a chance to teach each other, learn from each other, as well as from the teachers, as well as from the mentors, as well as from the pitch judges. So this is, their pores are open and they fill their heads with meaningful, actionable, exciting concepts and practices every day.
What do you think was required for you to be able to pull this whole partnership together? Was it do you think it was a requirement, a necessary condition that you had perhaps some previous exposure to Inc. and maybe Nifty and NSLC? I'm not sure. Through your MBA exchange, was it sort of you already had some existing relationships?
Yeah, you've hit on most of them, Will. I think being a 20-year entrepreneur who experienced the entire journey from bootstrap startup to growth to sale, I had seen the whole picture. The fact that I had that Inc. 5000 badge gave me credibility and familiarity with the pool of entrepreneurs that I was going to tap as speakers. So I was one of them and they were one of me. And so it was not difficult. There's a sharing and openness that is phenomenal with entrepreneurs. I know you're aware of this as well, but I think it's unlike any other industry or any other, task focus, that the trust, the openness, the willingness to take a risk, the willingness to help before you ask for help is a magical thing. And so that's the language I speak, I understand. And so that was really at the core. Candidly, I think having the Harvard MBA added to that, it's one more pedigree and instilled in me the general management background and the cross-industry exposure that I could speak intelligently with these entrepreneurs, regardless of the industry or the market that they were in. So that's the beauty, I think, of an HBS education, is that it's a general management education and it's case-based. So over my MBA years, I was immersed in hundreds of real world situations involving companies and jobs and customers that I never knew anything about. So, maybe it's an inch deep and a mile wide, but I'm able to have that conversation with other business people and find some common ground in whatever they do that I can converse with them about and maybe even have a point of view. So that made these conversations pretty robust. A lot of them have now become friends and colleagues of mine. We collaborate, and that adds to the bond. And so I think that aspect of my background also was substantial. As far as the MBA exchange, really that sort of gave me the entree to Inc. I had consulted with a publication called Poets and Quants, which is kind of the Inc. magazine of the graduate school world. And my relationship with them facilitated an intro to Inc. And so I was able to, engage with Inc. at high levels and have that conversation and get my chance to explain what the vision was. So, I basically drew from, everything I've done. I have corporate background as well from Citibank and MasterCard that added credibility, I guess, to those that look for that. And maybe the X factor was my pure passion for this. I don't know if it's apparent or obvious, but this is what I want to do at this point in my career. I love it. I'm excited about it. I put my heart and soul into it. I traveled to all 5 campuses and, hit the deck running, got a chance to sit on the classes, meet with the students, network with the speakers and judges. I love being hands-on with this as well. And so I think maybe that came across as well, that I was not, just connecting dots, but I was in it. I was neck deep in it and intend to always be neck deep in it.
I wonder how or to what degree have you created a way for the attendees to stay connected after the program? Is there some kind of, Facebook group or, separate forum or any kind of thing like
Sure.
that?
Well, I'll tell you this. On day one, when I first look out at these, 50 or so shining faces, I ask them a question: who has a LinkedIn profile? And typically 20%,
oh, really?
perhaps.
Oh, high school kids.
I said, by the time I come back and see you here tomorrow morning, I'd like to see every hand up. And they look at each other and they go, okay, we'll do that. And so at the very, most basic, we've used LinkedIn as a way for them to identify themselves and connect with each other, and importantly, connect with the speakers, the mentors, the instructors. So what I tell them is, it may not be this year, it may not be next year, it might happen after college, but the 50 plus people in this room are going to achieve some amazing things in business. And if you can tie in with them now and connect with them now, when you can help each other most, even if it's not frequent, even if it's not, deep, but the fact that you can connect with them now and keep track of them and have them keep track of your commitments and your achievements, you're going to be happy for that. So that's at the basic what we use. We're now exploring other ways to connect them and keep them connected, but LinkedIn for now serves a great purpose. And it also sort of surreptitiously allows me and my other partners to see what happens with some of the students after they leave, what they do in college, what clubs they join, what internships they get. And we're not quite at the stage where they're starting their careers, but one more year and we will be. And that's going to be a lot of fun to see, where they go with what they've learned. And we're very excited about seeing some, marquee kinds of jobs and hopefully some startups.
So for any listeners of the show who are saying that sounds amazing, I'd love to volunteer to be one of the instructors or one of the entrepreneurs who comes and visits. Where would you point them online?
Okay, so the place to start would be the NSLC nslcleaders.org. The landing page for business and entrepreneurship has just been refreshed for 2025. And so that would be a place to go. I don't want to sound elitist with this, so please forgive me in advance. But at least at this point, the speakers and mentors and pitch judges have been Inc. 5000, EO, Entrepreneurs Organization, Shark Tank CEOs, which we have had several, and Harvard alumni. That's where we are today. I would say that anyone who is not within that group, I'd certainly welcome hearing from them, any ideas they have. Who knows where this could go? You know, as we leverage this, there could be regional or local extensions of this where we would love to have other successful entrepreneurs, independent consultants, who I consider sort of the top of the pyramid in terms of entrepreneurs, because they're serving other entrepreneurs. As a consultant, that's what I enjoy the most, is advising founders of other startups. So don't hesitate to contact me. I'm most reachable through my website, which is Bauer, Bauer, Inc., Inc.com, Bauer-Inc.com. That's my consulting practice, and I'm certainly reachable there. So again, as I said earlier, this entrepreneurial community is a very giving, caring, open, pay it forward kind of group. And there's never too many of those folks for me to connect with or to try to help in return. So, you know, let me hear from you, and let's see where this thing can go.
Amazing. All right, Dan, thank you so much for joining, and we will include those links in the show notes.
Thank you, Will. Real pleasure.